with me, with my everyday life? How does it change my life, or how does it make my life better? So we are going to be going into that. Our special guest, Isaac Frank, who is a blockchain developer, is a full stack developer. So he's into this, like he is fully saturated in this. He's top notch. In fact, he's making a hell of money in this area. So he knows what it is and how it's going to make, or how it has been making impact, and all the impact it's going to make. So all you have to do is just sit back and enjoy. So, like I said, if there's anyone who has had an amazing week, even anyhow your week has been, just feel free to share with us. We just have 10 minutes to go before we bring him on. You can unmute yourself and let's talk about it. Have you been making profit from our signals so far? Hello. Okay, so a little talk on. Okay, I have my okay, he's gone off. He or she has gone off. He was waving to speak. So if you can come back on, that would be amazing. So I want to recognize everybody here. We have Gilbert Emeka, we have our very own COO Grevu, we have Joel Wanko, we have Isaac Frank, we have Salami, Liberty Child, Frank Winner, Bobby, Samuel Blawal, Saint Chikwe. Okay, the next name I don't really know, but UB Encanta, Nisanya, Rod, Roda, Tochi, Perpetua, our boss, Veronica, my namesake. You're very much welcome. Vincent, okay, mine is back on. You're welcome. And Collins. So you all are welcome. Um, most of you, this may be your first time here. I'm going to who we are. We are GIBCHAIN. And what we do, we are super, super passionate about bringing blockchain to each and everybody, as many as want to hear about the gospel of blockchain, because that is what we are passionate about. We've seen how much impact it has made, and we want to take control of their financial life with blockchain technology. We offer cryptocurrency training, trading classes, and blockchain simply to teach you about how you can make money effectively as much as you can in the easiest and less stressful and most effective way possible. We also offer signals for those who are working but really want to trade, but you don't have the time to do analysis to analyze the market. Maybe you can sign this from monthly to lifetime unlimited. So once you pay, it's a one-off payment for that one, and you don't have to make any other payment ever for that. You're on. And we already have our free signal running on the Telegram channel, both sports and futures. So if you want to be sure, people who have been trading on these signals can give you a hint on how far it has been performing. It has been performing great. At least 80% of our signals have really gone profitable. And we're offering our classes offline and online. You can also package also where you can invest. we enable you to invest, we give you the opportunity to invest fully blockchain, and you don't have to worry about whether you have money when new projects are launching. You can actually invest in them, dollar cost averaging them with little you have at certain points in time, because over the long run we've seen that long-term investment pay. But one of the reasons why most people don't really go into long-term investment because they don't have the money. But we want to create that opportunity. That is why we are here. Make it easy, because we've been there and we know how much difficult it could be. But investing in cryptocurrency can be really, really profitable if you do it the right way. And that is what we're offering you. So back to what I was saying about those who have been in the market for this whole week. Let me know what your week. Okay, so probably nobody wants to talk about their week for now. So, like I was saying, I'll be introducing our guest to speak on what Web3 is and the impact it's going to have, or it has had also in the digital world. Everything is literally going digital. Everything has
All right, guys. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I'm very, very sorry. I think our hosts is having network issues, and I have to pick it up from here. I'm supposed to be your host, but I stepped out. I'm still on the way going home. Okay, so let me make it very quick here. My name is Ifan Ruben, and I am the founder of GIBCHAIN. And tonight we're talking about Web3. Those shall briefly introduce or explain our services and products we offer, right? So tonight I'll be bringing up a young guy, a young Nigerian, a young African, and he's not just young, he's a blockchain developer, a full stack back end and blockchain developer with many years experience, and he has worked for several companies and also currently working for a US company right from Nigeria here remotely. So I would like to bring up the young guy, and the young guy we're talking about, I don't find out if this young guy is up to 22. I don't know if he's up to 20, up to 20. So I used to call him my first son, my adopted son anyway. All right, guys, I'm bringing up Isaac Frank. Isaac, I'll come and do what you are good at. Come and show us and come and teach us what we need to know about Web3. Thank you.
About that introduction, Sha. Thank you, sir, for having me.
You're
Good
welcome.
evening,
You're
everyone.
welcome.
So, I'm a visual learner and I think it's very efficient. And I know there are others like me here. So, I'll be sharing my screen. We'll go through some slides and also talk about Web3. Can I see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Yes, we can.
Okay. My name is Isaac Frank, and I'm a Solidity tech lead at Leisure Pay. And we are trying to integrate Web3 into the package sector. And also a blockchain developer and a full stack developer. And yeah, I'm also a YouTuber. You can call me a generalist. In today's episode of Finance and Wine, we'll be discussing on what Web3 is and how it's going to impact the digital world. And before we go into this whole details, we need to really know what Web3 is. So, what is Web3? Web3 refers to the next version of the internet, which main focus is on decentralization and user ownership. So there was this moment in Web3 where Gavin Wood was interviewed. He was asked what Web3 was, or what Web3 is, right? He said less truth, more truth, less trust, more truth. And he went further to explain the term. He said he perceives trust as a blind faith, and Web3 is coming to get rid of all that in the digital space. In essence, what he was saying was that instead of having faith or instead of trusting that a project will work as it said it will work, you will actually see reasons and you will actually see the truth that the project is going to follow a set of pattern to work the way it is intended to work. An example of this are smart contracts, which we can see on the blockchain. Yeah, just like the name implies, Web3 has many predecessors, and there is the Web 1, which was the very first internet, and it was just a read-only internet. So basically, users go to the web just to search for information and read information. There was no way to actually communicate. There was no way to interact or leave feedback or comments. So Web 2 came into the game to get rid of this and make the internet a read and write system where users can come in, contribute, make comments, and give feedbacks. Web3, in Web 2, the communication and everything is being handled by big companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, and all these companies. And it's being subject to control by centralized entities like the government or regulators. Web3 is trying to change that and giving everything in the powers of the users. So to summarize what Web3 is, we can say Web3 refers to a decentralized online ecosystem based mainly on the blockchain. So platforms and apps built on Web3, they will not be owned by a central entity, but rather by the users like you and I. And we can contribute to this protocol. We can help maintain protocols and also build the protocols. We can already see that happening in the blockchain space through DAOs. DAOs is simply decentralized autonomous organizations where users want to determine what happens to the ecosystem. For example, if the protocol decides to add a feature to the ecosystem, they'll have to create a proposal and users will be the one to determine to vote on this and determine if it should pass or fail. Just like democracy. So we're talking about the key features of Web3. What makes a project a Web3 project? The number one here is ubiquity. So ubiquity simply means being or having the capacity or ability to be everywhere at the very same time. So for omnipresent. This kind of exists on Web 2. So an example of this on Web 2 is Facebook. If I should pick up my phone and take a picture and post to Facebook, everyone can see this picture. Everyone anywhere in the world can see this picture. So far as you have access to these platforms, you'll be able to see the picture. But the difference between this and Web3 is that Web 2 requires you to have a Facebook account. Whereas in Web3, you only need one account for all platforms. just like a wallet address. You don't need to create different accounts and start keeping tracks of passwords and usernames. And the next on the list is semantics. Semantics and AI actually go hand in hand. Semantics is basically the study of relationship between text. So a semantic web is basically a web that is able to process words and try to encode the meaning and also the emotions of words or text. Now, how would this be done? It's be done through AI. AI is basically artificial intelligence. And to simply put this, I'll say AI is intelligence demonstrated by machines. Now, based on these two features, semantics and AI, machines will be able to detect emotions in text. And example of this, I think Grammarly does this already. Machines are able to detect emotions in text, and they'll be able to tell the difference between an honest review and a fake review. And this happened some months back when Robinhood had some scandal, GameStop and Robinhood. Users were angry and went to Play Store to drop some negative reviews on the project. Google made use of an AI to detect honest reviews and fake reviews and deleted over 100K thousands of reviews of fake reviews. The next on the list is trustless. So the next on the list is trustless. I would not say Web3 is completely trustless. I don't think Web3 is completely trustless yet, but I will explain later. So trustless is all about, like I explained at the beginning of this session, trustless is the ability to trust less on a project. You actually see the reason to use the project and not based on what you are told about the project. Now let's talk about decentralization. The whole idea of Web3 is so that the ecosystem will not be controlled by an entity or organization. User will get to have actual freedom of speech. So imagine you have something to say about the government, and with the way the web is, Web2 is right now, you can't actually say everything you need to say about the government or a country because you'll be scared that they might ban you or something. But with Web3, you're actually free. You're actually able to write whatever you feel like and your opinions and air them out. So there are some Web2 products that actually look like a very product. An example of this is assistants like, let's use Siri for example. Siri is everywhere at the same time. Siri is all over the place. You can pick up your phone and call Siri and it answers. And Siri also makes use of AI, which means when you tell Siri something, semantics and AI, it processes your words, knows the emotions of those words, and know what feedback to give to you. But the flaw of Siri is that Siri is centralized. It can only be accessed by people making use of the Apple products like the iPad or any Apple products. And it's owned by a central entity, which means any day, any point in time, Apple might decide to discontinue Siri and end the product. So we're talking about an actual Web3 project, and I'll show you an example of an actual Web3 project. An example of this are DeFi and DEXs. So DeFi are decentralized finance. It's kind of coming to replace the banking sector. And then there is DEXs, which is decentralized exchanges. So this GIF play right now is the process of swapping a coin on PancakeSwap. Now I have to input the amount of BNB I need to swap, and I see the amount in USDT I will get. And I don't have to trust the system because I know there's a smart contract that does the calculations, and there's a smart contract that will actually process this transaction. So I don't need to trust PancakeSwap to give me my money. I know they will give it to me. So that is what the trustless is. Now after the transaction, I get exactly the amount that was predicted I will get, because this whole process is being automated by a smart contract, which code cannot be altered or changed. So now we have a basic idea of Web3, and we have also seen an example of Web3. We'll talk about the impact it has to the digital world. And to be able to know the impact Web3 is going to have to the digital world, we need to know some things Web3 actually brings to the table. The number one here is no censorship. So a couple months back, Nigeria banned Twitter, and if you were in Nigeria, you could not access Twitter anymore except to make use of a VPN. In Web3, this can't happen because this whole system is not being handled by a central authority. So for this kind of thing to happen in Web3, the protocol has to come in, create a proposal, and ask the user to vote if Nigeria should be banned from using the service. And based on this outcome of these votes, then the user collectively will decide on what happens. And we talk about trustlessness or freedom of speech. So I know most Web3 advocates will tell you that Web3 is completely trustless, which means you don't need to trust anything. There's a smart contract that's automated. But I like to think Web3 is trustless in depth, but end users need to apply trust. Okay, imagine being in a system where you don't have to trust the next person you're dealing with. This is Binance, for example. Once you come to Binance and you decide to trade a coin using P2P services, you'll be scared. You'll be scared that the person might rip you off or it might not pay for the service. And then you rely on the Binance middlemen, which is the support system. And these services, these guys can take hours. They can decide not to even reply you. So you have to trust that hopefully they reply you. But in Web3, you don't need all that. You just interact with the smart contract. And you know once you tell it do X, it will do X. There's no need for a middleman. So Web3 tries to cut the middleman. I mentioned earlier that Web3 is not really trustless in a sense. So as a developer in the Pancake Swap, where I tried exchanging coin X to coin B, it was successful. And the reason I was not scared of this was I knew it too. Hello? All right, I thought someone was saying something.
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, the reason I was not scared of this transaction was because I knew it will actually do what it says it will do. Now, the reason I say it's trusted to devs is that if you bring two guys here, a dev and an average end user, and you ask a dev, you ask both of them why they trust why they use PancakeSwap and why they know it will actually do what it says it will do. Both of them will give you the same answer. They'll tell you that it's a smart contract and you don't need to trust it. You just have to believe that it will do it. There is a code that cannot be changed and all that. But if you should ask why they really believe that it will do what it will do, a dev will tell you that he has gone through the code and he has seen everything. So he knows there's no malicious, he knows there's nothing fishy about the contract. He has gone through the code line by line and has seen everything that there is to the code. But the end user will tell you that the project is being sponsored by maybe Binance or something. So their reason for believing in the project is based on the sponsors of this project and not actually based on the smart contract. They believe, okay, this project is big, it's made name, the people in this project are top people that everyone trusts. So I will ape into this project. But they will actually tell you the reasons why he trusts in the project. Tells you that the smart contract is active. So end user needs to trust in maybe the sponsors or trust in the devs. The project is unique and the project is free of bugs and all that. So Web3 is trustless to the devs, but the end user needs to apply a little trust. I oh hold on, sorry. Okay, so we've talked about Web3 and the impact it's already having, the no censorship and the trustlessness of Web3. Now we have to talk about NFTs and metaverses. This will be my conclusion. I don't really want to waste time on this topic because it's not really much. Mm,
All right.
okay.
I think you might not really need to waste time. We're having a metaverse class by I think next week Friday.
Oh, okay. Okay. No problem. So when we talk about Web3, the first thing that should come to your mind is ownership and user data and the way data is being handled and trustlessness. So since Web3 sorry, hold on. Right, I was saying Web3 is all about ownership and user data. So a way to mimic this in the current world we are in right now is we own clothes. Yeah, we own clothes, we own shoes, we own all these items. Now, if we are to look at this in the digital aspect, when you make a tweet on Twitter or when you post on Instagram, you don't really own this tweet. Yes, of course, you can delete this tweet and you can share the tweet, but you can't sell the tweet. You don't really own them. And just like physical items that have ownership registry, say you have a house right now and this ownership is saved to a database. And this database is maintained by maybe the government or a particular entity. When this item is being sold, when you sell your house, let's say you have a house and you sell to a new user, the database is being overwritten and then the new user will be the one that bought the house from you. But there's a very huge problem with this, which is the centralization we're talking about, which Web3 is trying to change. So imagine if the snake that swallowed 30 billion naira, I think, or 34 million naira, decides to swallow the computer that hosts this database. Now, all this information is gone. Or imagine the government is being attacked by a cyber attack and they were hacked and something happened, they erased all the information. Now, with this information gone, there's no way to prove that you actually own these items. You just have to trust in the government that the government will figure something out and rectify these issues. But in Web3, this is not the case. Web3 makes use of NFTs to establish ownership, which is why I think NFTs will play a very major role in the Web3. So to quickly explain what an NFT is, I don't really go deep into all this since they're having an NFT class next week. To quickly explain what an NFT is, NFTs are basically how we establish ownership on Web3. So remember the registry we talked about on Web2, where you have to save information in a database and all that. Now, NFTs does the exact same thing, except now it's saved on the blockchain and it's stored forever. It can't be deleted, it can't be altered. What can be done with NFT is to transfer the ownership. So if I have an NFT that represents an asset, let's say my phone, I transfer this ownership to a new user and that user becomes the owner of the phone. And NFTs are not subject to attacks and all that, like decentralized entities. Currently, NFTs are not really used for what they are made for. Right now, people are just creating crazy stuff and apes and all that. They're not really used for the main purpose of NFTs, which is ownership. So a fun use case of NFT, I think that's the best use case of NFT I've seen, was when a musician, I can't really remember his name, he created this set of NFTs and holders of these NFTs could attend his concert. So the NFT was sort of a gate pass. So if you own this NFT, if you're an owner of this NFT, you could come to his concert for free without having to pay anything. So these are the actual use cases of NFT, and I think we'll be seeing more on we'll be seeing more of these use cases in the future. This will eliminate it really eliminates lots of trust in the government, and whenever you want to prove something, you don't need to have to query the database and know if the information is still there. All you have to do is maybe log into the blockchain. And since you already have just one creation, one profile creation, just need to log into the blockchain, get the NFT, show to the person, and the person knows that, yeah, this guy is the real owner of this item. So another way I think the world will impact the digital world or impact our world is by changing the way we perceive reality. I'm talking about metaverse. So metaverse is a visual world or a visual universe that mirrors the actual physical world we live in. So the metaverse that currently exists is not really complete. I don't think it's complete right now, because right now it's just the tip of what's to come. Now, an example of what it will look like in future is the way we live our life daily is when we wake up in the morning, we have a bath or something, and then we have to go to work. We have to book an Uber, we have to get boats or something, go to the workplace, spend hours there, then return back home. But with Web3 and Metaverse, all this it eliminates all this stress. So what you could be doing, what we could see in the future is you wake up in the morning and you want to go to your workplace. All you have to do is pick up your AR headset, put it on, and then you're being transformed. You're seeing this visual world that's like a workplace, your workplace, and you're seeing your colleagues. You can interact with your colleagues. You can have conversation with your colleagues. But you're doing all this from the comfort of your home. I mean that is really crazy what's to come in the metaverse space. So we know things metaverse has to offer, and we know how it's going to impact our world with NFTs, with ownerships, and also how it's going to protect our data, users' data, and all that. Web3 will really break boundaries, and it's going to impact the world. It's going to really impact the world. So there are many use cases of Web3. There are many things Web3 is bringing to the table. There are lots of things Web3 is bringing to the table, which we can already see now. Like smart contract we talked about. So smart contracts are these scripts written, although they are written by users here, but these scripts are written and put out there for us to interact with. So you go to the website or a DApp, which is a decentralized application. You're interacting with these smart contracts, and you tell it, okay, I need this, okay, let me find a better example of this. Right, you tell this smart contract that you want to exchange 1 BNB for 10 USDT. The smart contract goes their logic and everything within the smart contract. The smart contract checks this and says, okay, what's the current price of BNB? It gets the current price of BNB, and it does these calculations and gives you back the equivalent of what you put. So there's no gap for errors. Everything is pre-written and predefined and cannot be altered. And we talked about the ownership, and we talked about how decentralized Web3 is, how you have a say in what happens, unlike the current world we live in, where the government can decide to do whatever they decide to do at any point in time. Like I said, I know everyone here has something to do and your time is important to you. So I will not really spend much time on this topic. Yeah, so this is really what Web3 has to offer and what Web3 will offer in the future, and to keep improving over time. And I think, sorry, let's see if I missed anything. Sorry about that. All right, so we've discussed everything Web3 has to offer and how it's going to impact the digital world. I did not really want to go deep into the technologies and talk about the coding aspect of it, or I just want to give you a vast understanding of Web3 and how it's going to affect our world. So I hope all this I hope you have something new, and I hope all this kind of triggers you to learn more about this internet, because when it happens, if you're caught slacking, if you're left behind, you really regret it. So I hope now it's still new, because it's really new right now. Hope now it's still new. You find a reason to you get triggered to learn more about Twitter, and also be ready for it when it comes. So as I end this session today, guys, and if there's any questions, I would love to answer them. And you can connect with me on any of these socials here. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Isaac. Of the truth, that was a well explained session. Like you did well. But I know it might be somehow new to some persons because you are also coming from the angle of development, while most of us are we are just coming from the outer view of it to get to know about 12.3. And I really appreciate. But you did well, and you have to break it down to the best of our knowledge. To the best of my knowledge, I'm sure almost every person here should have a good understanding of what Web3 right now is with your illustrations. I really love that. And using your slide also made it more easier for us here. I really appreciate you, and I really, really appreciate the time you spent with us today. However, I know some persons might want to ask questions or have some questions. So if you know you have a question, please kindly indicate. Just raise your hand. Everyone is muted. Yes, everyone is muted. Just click on that mute button. You will raise your hand, and I will mute you to ask your question direct. I think your question should be directed to him, so you'll do better in attending to us tonight. All right. So if you have any question, you can ask now. Just raise your hand. I'm still scrolling. If you have any question, if you have any question, anybody. Okay, I have Samuel Lawa. All right, you've been allowed to speak. Mr. Samuel, you can unmute yourself now.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for the highly very educative talk, and really, you really did a good job breaking down Web3, even simpler to what I once knew about it. But my question is, in your presentation, I have not been able to see how this. Yes, your presentation really did well, telling us what Web3 really is. But I have not really seen how people can really benefit, especially non-technical people, because the issue with Web3 right now, using Nigeria as a case study, is that we have limited number of people who really understand what it is and how to actually be able to benefit from this thing. And yeah, so when I say benefit, I mean use it and interact with it and actually use it to their own advantage. So I haven't been able to hear how this actually is going to help laymen, people that day-to-day men that doesn't really have the technical know-how to go and research about this? How can Web3 be brought to them? Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the question. So Web3 is still new right now, and it's going to be adopted massively. I think the whole world will jump into it. So that's why I mentioned that after learning this, you should go more and make researches on Web3. The Web3 is all about the web, and for you to benefit from it, for you to be involved in it, for you to benefit from it, you need to be involved in it. So if you are, I don't know what you mean by a day-to-day man, someone that doesn't have access to internet, or I don't understand what that means. But you need to have access to the Web3 to be able to use it and benefit from it. Now imagine a system where the government, instead of banning Twitter, the government came and asked the citizens to vote on this. They actually did a real democracy stuff and asked the citizens to vote on this, and citizens get to vote on it. Imagine if the government come again to like make a proposal and ask the citizens to vote on a topic, maybe the ASU strike or something. Like, you're being involved in everything. You're being part of the decision being made, so it affects you. So you're benefiting from it by being involved in it. I don't know if that answers your questions.
Yeah, it's sort of. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any other question?
Okay, yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Once again, thank you so much for the amazing insight you've given. Like when you mentioned about NFTs, like we already know the craze with NFTs. Like everybody is going crazy about NFTs. People are minting NFTs on OpenSea currently. Maybe out of the news they heard about somebody making money from NFT and they go to mint. Now my question is, how can NFTs be linked with Web3 in such a way that people can benefit, like in terms of being profitable, like financially, someone can be able to make money consistently, like make a living out of NFTs Web3. I don't know if my question is like clear. Like by the time it's fully adopted, like there was a time, for instance, crypto was not fully adopted, even though the government is still like kicking against it openly, but it still doesn't stop the youth. So are we going to have a situation where we can have NFTs like fully linked with Web3? Because that's confusion with Web3 and the metaverse can come in. Like for instance, we may not have like the full technology to interact on the metaverse fully right now, but Web3 seems like a more easier bridge to like connect that. So can we like have that link where we can use NFT more as a means of generating a source of income, so to say, for youths that are actually being part of it or that are trading NFTs?
Okay. Uh, okay. So NFTs are how do I say it? NFTs are representation of assets. For you to have an NFT, you have to have the asset. So once you're trading your NFTs, you're actually selling your assets. Now, if this ownership, these NFTs are linked to physical items, and you sell these NFTs, it means you're selling your physical items. Now, the way NFT comes into metaverse, I don't know the part of making money with it. I'm not talking about financial, but I don't know how you make money with NFTs. But these NFTs are your assets. So if you can sell your assets, you make money with it. I don't know if that's what you're asking. So for metaverse, NFTs can be okay. Remember when I talked about when an AR and seeing your workstation. Now imagine you have an NFT, and this NFT represents, let's say, a table or your laptop in the metaverse. Now,
Okay.
if you sell this NFT, you're passing that laptop or your workstation or table, whatever it is, you're passing that asset to a user. Now, once in a while you go to your workstation, that item is listed for your workstation. So it's like a registry for your assets. So I don't really understand the question of making money with NFTs. Right now, the trading they're doing with NFTs is crazy. Like there's no use case about it. They're just trading pictures and videos.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. If um they can, I'm talking about like basically Web3. If there is a way that NFTs are kind of integrated with Web3, or it has to be with respect to metaverse, because we might say, okay, we are going to start participating with interacting in the metaverse, but it may seem like the use case might not be that much, especially with Nigeria, because at the end of the day, it's still going to be like a movie to us if there is no way it like impacts us directly as the youth of this country. Like in more developed countries, we have more access. Like for instance, one person can say, okay, I bought um Oculus from Meta, to interact in the metaverse. But who are you really interacting with? Are you really interacting with people around? So it's like it can be like something like a fantasy. But from what you've explained about the Web3, I think the Web3 can that everyday life, just like you said. So I think your answer is like, okay, so we can actually integrate with the Web3, interact with the Web3 using NFTs as well, which is the representation, the blockchain representation of our physical assets. If I get you correctly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that answers the question. Thank you.
Is it okay? Yeah.
I have something I want to ask you, Isaac.
Okay.
Now, we're all on the blockchain network, and we're all talking
Mm-hmm.
about blockchain and almost everything. Uh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I say, okay. Now, I think the whole idea of blockchain was just the making everything making everything
Visualize.
easier and just creating that trust between two persons and not having a middle person in between any view you want to have. Please mute yourself. All right. Now, we now say that NFTs are also on blockchain. Now, there's something you said here. You said there should be a physical representations on those NFTs. Now, don't you also think there will also be a visual representation of NFTs on blockchain or built on blockchain? That in the metaverse, let's say someone owns a house in the metaverse and you have a collections of NFTs. I can come down and get your NFTs visually, then have to install them in my metaverse building. Isn't that possible too?
Yeah, when I said there should be physical items in the metaverse, I in the blockchain. So the stuff I'm talking about is NFTs will be used mostly for the metaverse and Web3, which means the NFT can be any asset on your metaverse, on your visual world. Now, the physical part of it I'm talking about is like the guy that used it as a gate pass for his fans. So these are the physical aspects we can see, these physical use cases we can see. So a country can just decide they're no longer giving ID cards. If you own an NFT, you're now a citizen of that country. So these are the physical items I'm talking about. But NFT will be based solely for the metaverse. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, you did. You did.
Okay, thank
All right. Thank you for doing that. You are doing good. All right. I know
you.
this topic. I know some persons might not be fluent. It's something that is new. But I'll urge us to ask your questions if you have something you want to ask. He's here. He will answer everyone. All right. And I think it's better we ask him today. All right. If you have any question you want to ask, we are here to learn and we are here to grow together. That is our primary goal, is to make sure everyone grows together. Meanwhile, I hope everyone, we are with our wine here. If you are not with your wine, please get a cup of it, a cup of wine, then join us here. All right, anyone? Okay, I have Sophia Smith. I'm bringing you on. All right, you can unmute yourself now. Sophia, you can. Sophia Smith. I don't think she's here with us, but she raised her hand. All right. I want to ask you something again. Are you there, Isaac?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right. Now, can we also talk about NFT as an e-commerce? Hello. Let's say the
Yeah, you
NFT
said
marketplace, can it be an e-commerce platform?
an e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so an e-commerce platform is just where it's actually yeah. I don't really understand the question.
Okay, what I mean is this. Yeah. E-commerce is basically where people come to shop stores like they want physical items, right? Such as
Mhm.
Amazon, Alibaba, Jumia, and other. Now, in NFT marketplace, I'm asking you now, can they be seen, those marketplace like OpenSeas, Mintable, and so on and so forth, can they also be seen as an e-commerce platform?
It's literally an e-commerce platform,
Okay.
but not
That
not the
means if I want
traditional
to
way we
sell
know
my
it
car,
as.
all right. So I'm just trying, why I'm asking this question is to help other persons to, please, I don't know why you're having a horn back. All right. Why I'm asking the question is to help other persons. So it becomes, I want to make it clearer to other persons here. Now, let's say I want to sell my car, right? And please, we're having a horn back. I'll go to OpenSea, I'll mint my car papers, maybe the pictures, then upload. All right. So if someone actually pays for it, I can ship it to the person, right? It's possible too.
Yeah, but why that would work, that is part of the limitations of Web3 currently. We've not gotten to the stage where we have those kind of texts that are needed to perform what you're saying. Now, if you meet your papers for your car and post on OpenSea, and someone buys it, the person has to trust that you send it to them, and this defeats the whole trustless system. So we've not gotten to the stage where we can easily like ship physical items through the metaverse. We don't have the tech yet. Even the metaverse right now, we can't really accomplish that because we still need a lot of things. Still need a strong internet and others to communicate freely on the metaverse. So now, currently, that can't be done because we don't really have the technologies needed for it.
But you believe in future
Uh,
is going to happen.
Yeah, I believe in the future is going to happen. IoT and others will make it happen. Of course, Terminator is coming.
All right. I think someone here wants to say something again. I think Smith is back again. And Samuel, just hold on. Let's see if okay, this is Sophia now. Sophia, please, you can unmute yourself now.
Okay. Good evening. Am I the one permitted to speak, or Sophia now?
It's Sophia.
Fine. Am I the one
Sophia
permitted to
Smith,
speak?
but I'm hearing
All
your
right,
low
Sophia.
voice.
All right.
Yeah, permitted to speak.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm using my sister's phone. Apologies for that. Okay.
No problem.
Sir Isaac, I have two questions. I'm sorry to deviate from the whole NFT talk right now. There was a book I was reading on what's it called, on blockchain development, and it was said there that whatever is published or deployed on a blockchain cannot be
Yeah,
Isaac.
yeah, I can hear you.
He said your book is it?
how was the word used again? Cannot be taken. That stuff cannot be deleted from a blockchain. Okay. I don't know if I can you hear me now. Sorry, someone on my line. I was cut off the internet. Sorry. Can I continue?
All right. Yeah, you can go on.
Can I continue? Okay, so I was saying I have two questions. I don't know where you guys got this. All right. So I read in Machiavelli said anything deployed on the blockchain cannot be deleted, cannot be taken down from the blockchain. So my first question is, should someone deploy a contract on a blockchain per se now? Let's say there's an error in that contract. Okay. Say there's an error in, let's say, a coin contract or a transfer contract, whatever it is, there's an error in it. Is there no means for you to say undo your mistake? That's the first question I have. Then the second question I have is okay, I also read somewhere that for a blockchain to be taken down, let's say for a blockchain to be hacked, that's the word to use, that 60% of the nodes, by nodes they meant computers, that is miners or people who work on the blockchain, 60% of their computers or something like that have to be maybe hacked or something like that. So sorry, I'm not putting my questions right, but is it that a blockchain, because okay, I've heard of certain blockchains that were hacked, like things on the blockchain that were hacked. Is it that it was the things itself, or it was the blockchain that was hacked? I don't know if I'm making sense, Isaac.
Yeah. So your first question was, once you deploy a contract, can it be changed?
Yes, can it be changed? Yes, once deployed.
Okay. So once you deploy a contract, it cannot be changed. Like once you deploy a contract, it's deployed. If you make an error, you have to create a new one and tell your users to move to the new one.
What happens to the old one? What happens?
Your one is still left on the blockchain. It's there forever. You just have to find a way to let users know, make use of it. So this was one of the issues that made developers to start thinking about upgradable smart contracts. So upgradable smart contracts are contracts that can be upgraded. So the way it works is you have the logic in a particular smart contract, and you have the admin in a different smart contract. So once you detect an error in your logic contract, you deploy a new logic and point this admin contract to the new logic. That's what they're using now. But this also defeats the whole decentralized system. But now people can make use of that to upgrade their contract. But without that, if you don't take of that in place before deploying, once the contract is deployed, it cannot be changed. It cannot be ordered. It lives forever.
Okay. So the second question about hacking of a blockchain, like so I don't know if you got me on that one. Is it that it's not feasible because?
Sorry, your voice is echoing back.
Sorry, I'm on the earpiece. I should take it off.
No, not you. I was talking to the host. All right, so the second question about blockchain being hacked, I think it's actually 51%. So if 51% of the miners are hacked, then people can change the block. So that is the whole centralized system. That's the whole democracy stuff. So you need 51%. You need the yes is needs to be greater than the no for it to have any effect. So if 51% of the miners get compromised, which is not possible because these are machines that are all over the world and users all over the world. They cannot just come together to decide to hack a blockchain. So, but if 51% of them are hacked, they can change information on the blockchain, so they can roll over. They can roll over the blockchain. This I think this happened to Ethereum when they first started, which made them to create a spin-off, which was the Ethereum Classic. So once 51% are hacked, they can decide to roll back the blockchain to previous blocks, so they can delete information from the blockchain. But it's not possible because the nodes are all over the world, and you don't even know who is who. You don't. It's anonymous, so you can't just go.
The nodes, like, is it the holders of Ethereum? The nodes, is it
No,
the
no, not.
holders of Ethereum or the miners?
Yeah, the miners of the blockchain, people that keep the blockchain, approve and cancel transactions. Yeah, that's the nodes. Now about your question about a protocol being hacked. Like we said now, if the protocol deployed a contract, let's say I deploy a token, for instance, and my token had a bug where users can steal millions of dollars. Now users hack, but
Yeah.
is that my protocol?
Okay, what they hacked
Hello?
is the protocol, not the blockchain itself.
Yeah, what they hacked is the protocol, not the blockchain. The blockchain still lives. Just the protocol that gets hacked.
Okay. Okay, can I ask the last one? Sorry.
No problem.
I'm sorry, I was having internet issues where when we were talking about the rules of blockchain. Outside the voting contract and smart contracts, I think you mentioned one else before I had that internet issue. So I don't know if you can just give me a recap of what's it called, the various stuff that can be done on blockchain outside coin creation and what's it called, and voting contracts.
Well, I mentioned decentralization, so it's freedom of speech. I also mentioned what else did I mention? I mentioned no censorship, so you cannot be censored. And
No sense.
I mentioned ownership, which was the use of NFTs. And I also mentioned metaverse, which is the visual representation of our current world.
Okay, thank you. I'm good now. Thank you.
I don't plan. Okay, someone sent me a message. Person asked, let's see, what's the brief difference between Web 2 and Web 3? So Web 3 is just making Web 2 better. Web 2 was created to replace Web 1, which was a read-only. And Web 2 would have done this, except Web 2 is centralized. So if you're using a service, your information, the whole data belongs to this particular service, and they can do whatever they want with it. They can sell this information, they can block your accounts, they can do literally anything they want with this information. So Web3 just came to change that. With Web3, no one has access to it. No entity, no central entity, no single person has like the power to do anything with the information. So it just like help users keep their data and also decentralized basically. Our host don't leave us.
Yeah, I think Sophia, I don't know the guy's name, but he's using the sister's phone. I think you're done with him. We have Joel, and we have Samuel. So I will allow Joel to come off. Or Samuel, I think I've allowed him before. So Joel Nwankwo, you can unmute yourself now.
Okay.
Take your time to do. I don't want him to go.
Thank you so much. Mr. Isaac, somewhere while you were speaking, you said at the moment NFTs are not being used for what they were created for. I don't know. First, at one point when I was reading about NFTs some months ago, I actually saw somewhere that part of the reason they created NFT or Web3 is for benefit of the users, okay? And we actually moving from that point where we make money for Facebook to the point where we can make money for ourselves by using the internet. I mean, how is what it is being used for right now changing the trajectory of why it was created in the first place? Okay, and then secondly, some months ago, I think MTN bought some land from Metaverse. They bought a particular plot of land, I think 144 so, from Metaverse. I don't know how are they supposed to make money from that? Is it supposed to be like a landlord tenant setting or what? I just don't understand.
Okay, so the first question about sorry, the mic is having a feedback. Yeah, so the first question about NFTs and Web3. Web3 was created to give power back to the users. So instead of big companies handling the data and selling the data or sending you ads, it just like gives power back to you. You can do whatever you want with your data. If you decide to sell it, fine. Whatever you want with your data, you can do it. Now, NFT is different. NFT is part of Web3. So NFT was created for ownership business, like to prove that you own something. Right now, what they are doing, I don't like seriously, I don't even understand what they're doing right now. So someone can just wake up and meet an ape and sell for millions of dollars. Like people are actually buying it. If you're making money with it, fine, you can do it. But like that's not the actual reason for NFTs. It's created for ownership purposes. Like the metaverse, the MTN that bought land. I don't know how they want to make money with it. I don't know how they want to make money with that. I don't know if they want to do tenants or face me, I face you. I don't know what they're doing with it. But now they have this land, and maybe their plan is to sell it later, or maybe they believe that the land they bought in the future will be part of the metaverse. So they're trying to ape in early to own a plot of land in the metaverse. So if the metaverse goes the way it's supposed to go, and all this metaverse that exists right now gets integrated to the big metaverse that should come. Now imagine you already have a house and you bought in early. So now in the future, if metaverse becomes what it is, what it should be, you have a house there, you can sell this at a higher price. Just like if you buy a house early in the physical world, later once the place is developed, you can sell it. Now you buy a house and your neighbor, like the person house that's next to you is Elon Musk, he has to worth more. So people are buying this to hold for the future so that they can later use this to make money or maybe use this for something else when the metaverse becomes real. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, very well. I think I got the whole buying land at the moment for NFTs. If what is the actual reason? I get a digital sort of owner, like you're showing ownership. That is why NFTs are there for. But what are the benefits of this ownership? Or is it just for us to show that we own this particular asset? Are there other benefits that can actually occur me as the owner of a particular digital asset aside selling it?
Okay, so it depends on how it's all built. Let's say I own a club and I have these NFTs and I sell these NFTs and people buy. And I have a rule in my club that whoever owns this NFT is allowed to pay 50% of what they actually buy in the club. So the ecosystem that have these NFTs, that created these NFTs, most times they tend to create benefits around it. So they tend to create these benefits around these NFTs so that they decide to like intrigue users to buy the NFTs from them. That's why they create NFTs. And MTN buying the land they bought. Sorry, please hold on. So you have to glance at it. So these guys buying the lands, imagine if they have an NFT to prove that they're doing up the lands. So NFTs, the way it is right now, are just pictures. If you have an NFT, let's say you have one of these Bored Ape NFT, I can take this picture and create my own NFT. But now, for them to know the actual owner of the NFT, for them to know the real NFT, you have to bring some of them and they'll check the contact addresses and they'll know the one that is the actual NFT, the one that was minted from the real person. So they'll know mine is fake and they'll know this guy's own is the real one. But on the blockchain, both of us will show the same thing. So the ownership is there, and also the people creating these NFTs tend to create benefits for the users. So there's no fixed benefits. It just depends on the people creating the NFTs.
Okay, I get that now. Thank you.
You're welcome. There was one more person. I don't know if it's what's that?
Okay, thank you. And it's almost time. It's almost time. On the topic of NFT, we already have someone I know that'll be taking that class for us next week, Friday, on our finance and wine. And trust me, I think he was the first person also I had to listen and be able to get the full knowledge of NFT the first time last year. So guys, if you are still not convinced about NFT, just hold on, relax, take it chill pill. Next week Friday be here. Someone will do justice to that. Trust me, he will deliver. Aye. But now we have Samuel Lawa, but it's almost time. So we allow you, Samuel, to ask your question, but not on NFT. And please, if you know, so if someone have asked your question before, there is no need, so we can close for the day. And today is Good Friday, so we can rest. All right. I'll allow you to ask your question. Samuel, you can ask your question now.
All right, thank you very much. I thank you for the opportunity. Actually, it's not a question; it's just a little contribution about the old saga. Now, and NFT is actually what I want to talk about, just in 30 seconds. So, NFT doesn't really have the issue with NFT is that it doesn't have a legal backing for physical products right now. That is, if you put up your laptop on FFT, you still have to trust the person to give you that laptop physically, if that is what you are intending to do, right? But really, NFT actually is actually tightly coupled with metaverse, because later in the future, people will be purchasing virtual laptops, not physical laptops, virtual offices, not physical offices. So the use case that our host has actually trying to teach us, it's actually going to be much more useful in the metaverse, because you would be able to really claim ownership really in the virtual workspace, because it is an NFT. You want to buy a MacBook, you purchase it as an NFT in the metaverse, it will be available.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you for your contribution. While we are learning, I'm actually eating because I got home very, very late. I want to really appreciate everyone for making out their time to be here. I know we are all learning together, like I usually say. All right. So I also want to appreciate you, Isaac, for making out your time also to be here to teach us, and I really, 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 really appreciate. As usual, it's every Friday, and it's called GIBCHAIN Friday Finance and Wine. So next week, I'll be having someone that I know. I think he focused more on NFT projects recently. We'll be here again to teach us more, elaborate, and take us to a in-depth knowledge of NFT. Trust me, he's good at that. So don't forget that it's GIBCHAIN that is hosting everyone here. And we want to say that we are open. So invite your friends, invite your enemies, your family member, your colleague. We all need to learn. Don't have much time. I don't have much thing again to say, but to say thank you for being here tonight. See you guys next week, Friday. Thank you.